him no. She sings the song. The words she knows, tune she hums.
Okay, so we are back, and we have a very rough kind of story for you today. Um, I'm gonna get into some of it, um, and we're gonna keep unpacking this case as much as we can. I have a wonderful thing of notes here. Uh, back, front, some paperwork, and I have some stuff. I'm not going to read everything because it's going to take too long to do that. So, and then I have a few videos from court that I want to share with you as well. And we're going to see what you think, what your verdict would be. Because it's definitely a hard case. Now, before we get into the rough stuff, you have to check out these freaking pens I got. Now, I just somehow lost my favorite one, but I also have a few other favorite ones. And oh my God, look at them. They're gorgeous. And they write like a freaking dream. And what's great about them too is they come with extra ink. So if you run out, you can keep using your pen. And then my beautiful mother, who helped me out, I was running out of notebook paper, and I needed more highlighters when I found these glitter highlighters. So when you highlight stuff, it highlights in glitter. So I found those, and I got those. And then I have sticky notes. And I use a lot of them, and I have glitter sticky notes. But I found these really cute heart glitter sticky notes, and I was like, oh, hell yeah, I'm buying these bitches. So I got all that, and I'm excited, and everything comes in about 3 days time, so I won't have to wait forever for this stuff to come. It'll be here. And just like my e-bike stuff will be here within a couple of days. That was also 3-day shipping. So I believe my tail light will be here. And it could be here tomorrow or the 7th. And I already took apart my old tail light because it's broken. So I can hook the new tail light in there. And then I got these things that you put on the tire, and you screw it in where you would put the air in the tire, and it lights up it makes your whole tire look like it's lit up. And I got pink ones, so that's great. And I'm excited for that. And what else? I think that was it. So my bike will be completely tricked out. Now I just have to wait till the 11th or 12th so I can get my license reinstated and then get my bike registered so that I can get back on the road on that thing. and it'll be wonderful. But anyway, so we're going to talk about the Lindsay Clancy case. Before that, I want to read this Bible passage because anything that is this horrific, you need a Bible passage, and I believe this one fits her perfectly. It says, "Listen, you leaders of Jacob, you rulers of Israel, should you not embrace justice? You who hate God and love people, who tear the skin from my people and the flesh from their bones, who I eat my people's flesh, strip off their skin, and break their bones in pieces, who will chop them up like meat for pan, like a flesh for the pot. Then they will cry out, Lord, but he will not answer them. At the time he will hide his face from them because of the evil they have done." Now, I don't want to say she's evil in a way, because I don't think evil had much to do with it. I think she is I think something is wrong with her, and she needed help, and nobody was giving it to her, or at least they were attempting to give it to her, and it just did not work. It was horrible. So, if you don't know about this case, this is a mother who strangled her 3 children while her son was out running errands, and then she jumped out of, I believe, a 2nd-story window trying to kill herself, and instead she ended up paralyzed. So she's on trial for the strangulation murders of her 3 young children, and her defense claims she claims lack of criminal responsibility and is using the insanity defense to and also severe postpartum psychosis. There were diary entries for months leading up to the killing in a coastal Mass in 2023. She described being anxious, overwhelmed with motherhood, including having struggles to get her newborn to sleep and also worried about him being sick. She did not want to go back to work. Her job was a labor delivery nurse, and also she was not able to breastfeed, feeling a disconnect from her children and husband. It also says she wrote, desperate to get a medical break from taking care of everyone, that her mind is trying to find something physically wrong with me. That was in November of 2022. So she was reaching out, and she, okay. A lot of mothers go through that with their children. Your kid doesn't sleep. They're screaming all night. You want to fucking strangle them. It happens to the best of us, but you don't do it. But the difference is if you're not all mentally there, and that screaming bloody murder when your kids won't sleep, that is a big fucking deal. She was overmastered by postpartum psychosis and dangerous psychiatric conditions. This usually happens after childbirth. So she didn't just have postpartum. She had postpartum psychosis, a dangerous, uh, a dangerous kind. The conditional, and it usually happens after childbirth. Most people just go through postpartum, but postpartum psychosis, a dangerous psychiatric condition, that's not good. Now, prosecutors believe that she did this intentionally and should be held accountable for the deaths of her 3 children from 8 to 5 years old. Now, I disagree. Usually I don't disagree with the prosecution on most cases, but this one I do. Because when I get into this story more, you're going to understand why. 3 months before the killing, various doctors prescribed her a range of antidepressants, sleep aids, antipsychotics, and other meds while she was feeling profound insomnia, anxiety, despair, confusion, and what was real. So she was hallucinating. She didn't know what reality was from non-reality. Her medical providers failed to properly diagnose Lindsay with bipolar disorder with postpartum. Basically, they didn't do anything for her, and they exacerbated her condition and precipitated a severe psychotic break. Now, in a separate lawsuit that is going on about the providers, I'm assuming that Lindsay and her husband are suing the doctors. Lindsay and her ex-husband Patrick Delaney or Clancy alleged that various providers failed her and should have recognized that she was at risk to herself and her children. The doctors refused any wrongdoing when she was clearly told them she intended to harm the kids. And, oh, we didn't do anything wrong. What do you mean? She's telling you that she's fucking nuts and has thoughts of killing her kids and wants to kill herself and all this other shit, and you think there's nothing wrong? Like, come the fuck on. Like, what? I don't understand. The way mental health is treated in this country is fucking, it blows my fucking mind. Like, how many times does someone have to tell you they're fucked up before you believe them? She saw many doctors, I can't even count, and no one helped her. You ask me, I don't think she's guilty. I think she is insane. Before the killing, she sent her husband to run to the store to run errands before killing the kids. She also wanted off the drugs, had no motive for the crime. Before killing, Clancy was prescribed serotonin, an SSRI, Zoloft, Prozac, and Seroquel, also Valium, and a sleep aid Ambien. Now, I have been on Zoloft. Zoloft is not a good fucking drug. Zoloft makes you want to fucking kill yourself. I am 100% surprised that they even still have that shit on the shelf, because that shit is absolutely fucking terrible. Terrible. So I want to get into a couple things here. And read some of the stuff I found here. Diary entries from the months leading up to the killings in coastal Massachusetts, 2023. Clancy described feeling anxious, overwhelmed with motherhood, including her struggle to get her newborn Kaylin to sleep and consistent worries of being sick. She also expressed concerns about going back to work. We pretty much covered that. And, quote, I'm so desperate to get a mental break from taking care of everyone that my mind is trying to find something physically wrong with me, she wrote in November of 2022 entry. Clancy's defense says she was a loving mother who was overmastered by postpartum psychosis, a dangerous psychiatric condition that afflicts a small portion of women after childbirth and affects their hold on reality. Prosecutors contend that she acted intentionally and should be held criminally responsible for the death of Kaylin, Dawson, and Cora Clancy, who ranged from 8 to 5 years old. The lawyers don't dispute that she killed the children, but the criminal trial and the medical malpractice lawsuit, her attorneys say that the 35-year-old had bipolar disorder, that she wasn't fully diagnosed until after the killing. Her attorneys say her condition seemed to worsen on an ever-shifting lineup of psychiatric prescriptions, and some of them problematic for her bipolar. Here's a couple of her journal entries. I want help. I want to be well. She wrote, incredibly sad and guilty about not breastfeeding and was obsessed with Kaylin's sleep nap schedule. I have crazy brain fog. I feel like I can't make a plan. She wrote in another undated entry. I live moment to moment waiting for the next nap time. I'm terrified of Cal getting overtired now because I can't help him. Okay. In separate lawsuits, Lindsay and ex-husband Patrick Clancy alleged that the various providers failed her and should have recognized that she was a risk to herself and the children. The providers, at least who have responded to date, deny the allegation. When sought at Care Postpartum Depression Program in late 2022, providers noted that her symptoms might be due to medication, according to her lawsuit. It says those clinicians told her to taper off the antipsychotic drug and then discharge her after a day. This is the father returning home. Lindsay Clancy wept at the defense table last week while the witness testified. He told jurors returning to a horrible scene at their house, a bloodied room, an open window, his wife on the ground below, the children in the basement throttled with exercise bands. She killed the kids, he told 911 dispatcher on the phone. Lindsay remains paralyzed from the waist down because of the fall. In the hospital 2 days later, when a forensicologist asked how she felt, she responded horrified. She asked if she had a lawyer, whether her body and legs were broken. She was incubated and could only communicate through written messages on a whiteboard, the psychologist testified. Then she asked, can she have visitors where her family is? And the doctors testified Monday that 8-month-old Kaylin was in cardiac arrest when he arrived at the hospital in nearby Plymouth. He needed a ventilator at Boston Children's Hospital to help him breathe, but he did not have a heartbeat and died. 3 days later. And then they actually have a whole list of all the medications she was on, and I'm going to share that with you. Um, I don't Prosecutor Shannon Buckingham sought in an opening statement last week to keep the jurors focused on the defendant, not her doctors. This is not a public debate about a woman's mental health and how the medical system treats women. If convicted of murder, Lindsay Clancy faces life in prison without parole. If found guilty due to lack of criminal responsibility, she will be committed to a state mental facility. Oh, here it is. But it doesn't matter because I have the list. So let's see if there's one more thing I can read here. Okay, Clancy described feeling anxious, overwhelmed with motherhood. I'm so desperate to get a mental break from taking care of everyone. Prosecutors contended that she acted intentionally and should be held criminally responsible for the deaths of Kaylin, Dawson, and Cora. The lawyers did not dispute that she killed the children, but the criminal trial and the medical malpractice lawsuits, attorneys say the 35-year-old had bipolar disorder and wasn't fully diagnosed till after the I think I read that part. 3 months before the killings, various clinicians prescribed a range of antidepressants, sleep aid, antipsychotic, and other medications while she reported increasingly profound insomnia, anxiety, despair, confusion, and what was real, according to the lawsuit. Both prosecutors and defense attorney read from pages of her journal. I want to help. I want to be well. She wrote, feeling incredibly sad and guilty about not being able to breastfeed. Obsessed. I have crazy brain fog. I feel like I can't make a plan, she wrote in another undated entry. I live moment to moment waiting for the next nap time. I'm terrified of Cal getting overtired because I can't help him. And when she sought care for postpartum depression in late December 2022, providers noted that her system might be due to medication, and according to her lawyer, it says that the clinician told her to taper off antipsychotic drugs and then discharge her after a day. Clancy checked herself into a psychiatric hospital New Year's Eve and spent several days there. Once home, she resumed the appointments with her psychiatrist, who last saw her for 17 minutes on January 23, 2023. The next day, she believed a commanding voice was telling her to kill the children so you can kill yourself, according to lawyers. That evening, she asked then her husband to run some errands and request that the prosecutor cast as a ploy to get him out of the house. Lindsay Clancy wept at the defense table, and he told jurors about the remaining horrible scene at the house. The bloodied room, an open window, wife on the ground, the children in the basement, throttled with exercise bands. She killed the kids. Okay, so we got that. I want to read. Well, see, I had this journal entry, but now I can't. It's printed too small, so I can't see it. So we're gonna skip this, but I'm going to hold this up, and for people who are watching, you can see, and for people who aren't watching, I'm gonna read it. Put it a little further away. Okay. This is her medications that she was prescribed with the date. November 16th, ooh, that was my birthday, of 2022, trazodone as a sleep aid. Dose up to 150 milligrams. November 21 through the 25th, 22, Prozac. Dose 10 milligrams. November 25, 22, Ambien. November 25, 22, Remron. November 25, 22, Klonopin. November 29 to January 3rd, Seroquel. December 6th, Valium. Mid-December, Lamictal. I have no idea how to say that. January 3rd, Trazodone. January 10th, Valium. January 16th through the 23rd, Amitriptyline. Now I'm going to tell you what. I've taken some of these medications. I've taken Trazodone. I've taken Klonopin. I have taken Seroquel. I have taken Trazodone. I have also taken Valium. I do not like Valium at all. I'd rather you give me a Xanax, which I'm currently on. And where was the other one? That was mine. Amitriptyline, I take that. They gave that to her as an antidepressant. That is not an antidepressant. That shit fucks you up bad. I get it for a sleep aid so that I can sleep because I suffer from severe insomnia. So if I take one of them, I am knocked the fuck out. I can't do anything. You can't get me up. I am just fucking dead to the world. That is not something that she should have been taking as an antidepressant walking around. And 10 to 20 milligrams a day. I take more than that. I believe, what am I on? Am I on 20 milligrams? I used to be on a way higher dose, but right now I'm on a low dose, and that shit, I would never take my amitriptyline and go out. Like, that, no. Absolutely not. And then they give her Trazodone as a sleep aid. Trazodone, to me personally, it sucks. It does not help me sleep at all whatsoever. Valium is alright, but you could have just wrote her a Xanax because Xanax are better. Seroquel, that is something that can make you drowsy. It makes you gain a lot of weight. I took that and it, I don't know. Klonopin, it is what it is. That's more of a time release medication. Um, like I said, Xanax would be better. And the Ambien, I know plenty of people who take Ambien for a sleep aid. And trazodone, you can use that as a sleep aid, I guess. Prozac, that I don't know anything about, but I do know that she was uh, prescribed Zoloft at one time. And Zoloft is not the drug you want to be on. It is it makes you want to kill yourself. It's something bad, and I can't even believe Zoloft is on the market. But I'm recording the podcast live. Okay, thank you. So now I have, or anyway, like I was saying, they need to take. Sorry, my kids interrupted me, and I lost whole thought in my head. Zoloft should be pulled off the fucking market. It should not exist. It is not a good drug. It is bad. And I don't know why people would even take that shit. I was offered that shit, and it was something I will never ever take again. Sorry, I had to answer a text. Anyway, so I believe that this girl got screwed by her doctors. I believe her husband should have also took her more serious. I believe he should not have left her alone with those kids. He should have had some kind of nanny come over the house and help with those kids, or he should have took time off of work, or whatever the case may be. He should not have left her alone with those kids if she had feelings like this. Because as you listen to all that information, she talks about saying that she wants to hurt the kids and she wants to hurt herself. And I mean, come on, like it's kind of everybody's fault. It's the doctor's fault, it's a little bit the husband's fault. I would say it's completely her fault, but at the same time, she was trying to get help. She wasn't like going through all this and not going to doctors, and there's no proof of anything that she's saying, and then she just went and murdered her kids. And, then all of a sudden she got the court and said, oh, I have a disorder. Like, no, she didn't do that. She was doing everything the right way. There were diagnoses for what she had, and nobody did anything to help her. And that's why I think the prosecution are fucking scumbags. Because well, she sent him away to go on an errand. Well, maybe you guys always think everything's nefarious. Maybe at that point in time, she was perfectly fine and said, oh, yeah, why don't you go to the store and grab something to eat? And then when she was alone, started getting these thoughts and started getting, oh, what the fuck? And somebody starts talking to her in her head. And all of a sudden, her whole demeanor changed, and everything was like, oh my God, like, I gotta kill my kids. And then she went and did what she had to do, and she took the kids down the stairs and she killed them. And then realizing that she killed them, but at the same time not having a choice in the matter of that she killed them, she tried to kill herself. It doesn't mean that she knew what she did was wrong, so that's why she can't be insane. It's the fact that whatever craziness she had in her head that she thinks forced her to do this, she didn't want her kids to die. She didn't want to kill her kids. Something compelled her to do it, and that's why she jumped. Because she was saying the only way these voices are going to stop, the only way I'm going to be free of this is if I die. Like, there's a whole other way to think about this. And that is my way of thinking about it, and you're not going to change my mind on that. So I have some videos, some are court videos straight from court, so you can hear what was going on, and then I have some from an influencer that studied the case. So I'm gonna start with the journal entry.
First, about her stating that she had horrible PTSD from sleep training Cal, and hearing him cry for 1 hour plus and not intervening just about killed me. I even said the words, I want to die, to Pat while he was crying. He would be the baby, right? Correct. And this is her saying that not being able to go to her child because they were trying to do sleep training, she indicated that it was just about killing her, correct? That's what was stated. And after that, I, meaning Lindsay, became obsessed with his sleep and nap schedule. Like to the minute, I would tell Laney, she would tell Laney to put him down at 10:36. I would also drive him around for car naps for hours every day, feeling guilty for doing this to my baby. You recall making that notation? Yes. I also feel guilty we did it too young, parenthesis, 1 week shy of 4 months, end parenthesis, right? Also, quote, I also feel like I did it wrong because I did it when he was overtired, so I made it harder. I now have horrible insomnia and anxiety, which is causing depression. I have no appetite. I don't know what's wrong with me. I want help. I want to be well. You saw that in there, didn't you? Yes. And then she went on and said, I think the anxiety started after sleep training. Doctor said it was okay to let him cry. I need to get a good night's sleep and take care of him, rocking him to sleep every nap in bed in the middle of the night. She noted that, right? Yes. Separate occasion, he's still a very happy baby despite his sleep training. Why I feel guilty is not really hitting his milestones, not rolling over, although he almost is, exclamation point, and he's babbling, which is a new milestone. She wrote that, right? Correct. She wrote, I have crazy brain fog. I feel like I can't make a plan. I can't carry it out. Like I just live moment to moment, waiting for the next nap time. I'm terrified of Cal getting overtired now because I feel I can't help him. She wrote that, right? Correct. She then wrote, I'm really worried about going back to work and not being able to function with the brain fog. I feel like I should start with a 4-hour shift and see how I do. I can't tell if I am withdrawing from Ativan and Benadryl, or is this my new baseline? I feel completely disconnected with my baby. I feel like I'm going through the motions every day. She wrote that I feel horribly guilty about my marriage. I want to connect with Pat again. I know he needs it. I need it. I'm terrified because I'm terrified of the relationship. She needs to get birth control first. She made reference to her inability to have conjugal relations with her husband, right?
I believe so.
Completely overwhelmed, trying to take care of the kids. I'm drowning every day. I feel guilty that I'm spending my family's money and not making any. I feel like I spend way too much. She wrote that, right?
Correct.
I'm terrified of Callan getting sick. He's a sick baby. A sick baby is miserable. He's sick now with a double ear infection. Clearly has a bellyache. It's miserable. I feel like the other kids are going to get him sick all winter long. She wrote that, right?
Correct.
I always feel strongly against sleep training. I feel like it's abusive to let the baby cry and not respond. But I made the decision. I did it with Cal. It is way too much crying. It's incredibly stressful. She wrote that, right?
Correct.
He's okay. He will be okay. It's not harmful in any way. The doctor said it was okay. Plenty of people sleep train their kids at that age. It's necessary as a third child. I feel incredibly sad and guilty about not breastfeeding anymore. That was the one thing I could do to help his immune system, and I can tell he really doesn't like the formula. I'm very sad about this. I know at this time it's what I needed to do for my mental health. She wrote that, right?
Correct.
And then the statement started getting smaller and smaller as time went by. On occasion, it's like I'm desperate to get a mental break from taking care of everyone. My mind is trying to make something physically wrong with me. My mind never shuts off. It's constantly thinking of the next thing someone needs. I can't shut it off. I desperately want to go back to work, but now I don't know how I'm going to function, and it worries me. Affirmations. She wrote affirmations on November 22nd of 2022. I am calm. I will remain calm today. There is nothing that needs to be on my mind. The weight is lifted from my mind. I will sleep tonight. She wrote that, right?
Correct.
November, I slept well last night. I will sleep again tonight. Today will be a great day. I will go back to work on Sunday. I will thrive. I can feel like myself again. Gratitude. I'm grateful for Sue, who's always listening. That'd be a mother-in-law. You knew that, right? Sue, I'm grateful to Sue for always listening and trying her best to help me. Kids are sleeping great for Pat. Pat is handling nighttime stuff. Julie.
Okay, so you heard that. That is Lindsay Clancy's journal, and the defense lawyer was reading that. And it really seemed like she was trying, and that there was something wrong with her. Like, absolutely wrong with her. Now, I'm going to play you Lindsay Clancy's defense open. If it's too long, I'm going to stop it in the middle, but I want you to get the gist of it.
Wish to give an opening?
I do. I might use the easel, man. Place in front of the TV screen so that the jurors are able to.
Let's skip a little bit.
You people are going to have to listen to some of the most horrific things. Look at some of the most horrific things. And jurors, it's a beautiful system. You pass between, as you heard Don Clerk say, you probably don't remember it, but it's old language. It goes back to Old England. It says that you as jurors pass between the government and she places herself on her country which country you are. You owe allegiance to nothing but your oath, your consideration, and your time. Your common sense. You bring your life experience to this trial. You render a verdict. And as jurors, experience is, take the job very, very, very seriously. You people will never forget this case. And thank you for that service. The government says that this is a situation, it's not a referendum on women's having babies and having postpartum psychosis, postpartum depression, but it sure as hell is. Because you're going to hear, consistent with what is told you in the instructions, consistent with the obligation that the government has when they brought this charge. Tim Cruz, the DA, right in the front row, brought this charge. He knew, as did his office, the facts of this case. And he knew, when he brought this charge, that it was going to kill the soul of this young woman. And they would bring their evidence in front of a jury that she knows that she killed these children. We'll sit here and listen to their evidence. But I suggest to you that the issue of consideration is what was going on in that woman's mind. You're going to hear evidence that, as the government said, Lindsay was a kind of a parent pleaser. She was a person that in school had a lot of friends, still has friends. You'll hear evidence to this day from the 6th grade. High school, college, nursing school. You're going to hear evidence that Lindsay, in the course of in high school, she was a high achiever. Gymnastics. Stopped doing gymnastics because she hurt herself and didn't like to do the backflips and stopped doing gymnastics, but she was very athletic. You're going to hear evidence that right after she had the birth, the last child, within 4 or 5 days, she ran a 5K. She was very, very, very physically fit. Her life was such that she watched what she ate, watched what she did in her life as far as activities. It was one heck of a mother. She loved her children. All the things that the DA said to you about those little kids and their life, what they like, she knows 1,000 times more than what they know. As a mother, daily you'll see evidence that she would decorate rooms, that she and Patrick did have that achievement of a wonderful life. They had it all. They met in Boston. She was a young nurse out of school. He was working in his industry. They ended up falling in love. They got married. Bought a nice house. And, you know, people will say, oh, they're living in this mansion. No, they're living in a very, very humble house in Duxbury that they had to struggle to pay for. That house, you will see, not from the view. It's not enough that we have photographs.
Okay, so there's that. I want to get into the husband testimony.
It sounded like she was busy. I remember hanging up thinking she's probably in the middle of giving baths or something like that. The door was locked, and that's when I knew something was wrong.
Patrick Clancy was the prosecution's witness, but he really had something for both sides. On the one hand, he testified that she was in pretty good shape that morning, and that cuts against the argument that she was under the sway of some kind of mental illness. On the other hand, however, there's a lot for the defense in that argument, or in that testimony, because he describes her condition, her spiral downhill. That is all good stuff for the defense.
Who else can we expect to hear from to take exams?
Forensic types. We probably moved largely largely out of the facts, what happened phase, and now into forensics, the expert. This is not a whodunit. This is a why she done it. And the key to that evidence is going to be dueling experts on both sides.
She's pretty quiet. It sounded like she was busy.
So there's that. And then I want to show you I'm actually going to show you the influencer and what she had to say.
Left home between 5:30 and 5:35, and then while at CVS, he called Lindsay. She didn't answer right away, but called back a minute later, and he said she was quiet and sounded busy, but answered her question, and he moved on. He then went to 3B and returned home between 6:05 to 6:10. Patrick claimed that when he returned home, he called out to his family, but no one answered. He looked around looking in the children's bedrooms and bathroom, but they were not there. Then he found the main bedroom door locked, and when he opened it, he found blood throughout it and a window open. When he looked out the window, he found his wife lying in the backyard directly below the window and said that she was face up. She had deep cuts on her wrists and another across her neck. He asked her what happened, and she said, "I tried to kill myself." And when he asked her where the kids were, she said something along the lines of, "in the basement." Patrick called 911 and waited with his wife in the yard for help to arrive. And reportedly on the 911 call, Lindsay could be heard moaning in pain. Once first responders arrived, Patrick went inside to check on the kids, and he went down in the basement, and then he screamed out because he found them with workout bands around their necks and them being unresponsive. According to the officer who found him down in the basement, Patrick yelled out, "She killed the effing kids." The children and Lindsay were all transported to the hospital, but unfortunately, Cora and Dawson were already deceased. Callan remained on life support in critical condition, but passed away on January 27th. Lindsay was also in a serious condition. She was seriously injured from the fall out the window, and she is now permanently paralyzed from the waist down. She also had cuts on her wrists and neck, and we will go into more detail about that. Lindsay Clancy was charged with 3 counts of first-degree murder. She remained in a hospital because of her medical condition, but she was arrested and charged with murder. At her arraignment, she pleaded not guilty, and the defense is pursuing a lack of criminal responsibility or insanity defense. But the prosecution is saying that Lindsay intentionally murdered her children. Lindsay's trial began last week. And again, she's not denying that she killed the children, but her defense is arguing that she was not mentally stable at the time of the murders. They say she was suffering from postpartum psychosis and that her judgment was impaired by her mental illness and the multiple psychiatric medications that she had been on, making her incapable of appreciating the wrongfulness of her actions. The prosecution, on the other hand, is arguing that Lindsay planned the murders, creating a plan to get Patrick out of the house, and that she understood what she was doing, and that she attempted to take her own life to avoid consequences. That trial has been ongoing. We're now in week 2, and in my next video, I will go over the key takeaways from the trial so far. And I will also be making a video.
Okay, so we have that. And that gives you more of the, crazy rundown of the situation. And then there's one more. And then we are going to talk about, well, we'll basically wrap up the case from here.
You are online at all right now, you're probably seeing the name Lindsay Clancy and information about her ongoing trial. Now, I wasn't going to cover this case as I am currently 4 months postpartum, and it is very triggering. So I want to give a trigger warning. We will be talking about postpartum depression, anxiety, psychosis. We will be talking about suicidal ideation and the death of children. But I think it's important to share about this because I think it is bigger than just this case. There is such a huge lack of postpartum care, especially in America, and this needs to be talked about more. So I am officially going to be covering the case, and in this video, I'm going to go over a timeline of what happened in the case, and then in my next videos, I'll go over more of the details. Patrick and Lindsay Clancy met in 2013, married in 2016, and were living in Duxbury, Massachusetts, where Lindsay worked as an L&D nurse and Patrick worked in telecommunications. They had their first child, Cora, in December 2017.
Oh, I honestly think that's the same thing. I said part two, so when I was, reading it, I was like, okay, whatever. So anyway, now that you've heard all of that, you've heard the defense, you've heard other people's input, things like that. What do you think? And I haven't done this in a while, but I am going to where is it? Okay. I want to know what you think about this case. Do you think she's at fault? Do you think that she should die in prison for what she did? Or do you think she needed psychological and mental help and nobody fucking gave it to her? Because I think this whole thing could have been prevented if she was under observation. If they left her in a psych ward and had her under 24-hour supervision, medicated, whatever, and then maybe she could have been rehabilitated and brought out and everything would have been okay. But nobody, everywhere she went in to see them. She would check herself in somewhere. They would kick her out the next day and just write her a shit ton of medication. I mean, the fact that I have a medical sheet this fucking long with all of these medications on it, and you're giving all of these antipsychotics and anxiety medications and antidepressant medications and sleep medications. You're giving all of these medications to one person, and you don't think that when they say that they're crazy and need help, you don't believe them? Come on. Come on now.
You're ugly. You are disgusting. I'm going to kill you. Give me $200.
I mean, that's just facts right there. I mean, that is purely fucking stupid, and it's just unbelievable. So that wraps up the show for today. I will be back with another banger, and I will see you guys soon.